Hello, and welcome to the How I Tested That podcast. I'm your host, David J. Bland. I'm an author and advisor, and I'm fascinated with testing early-stage ideas. I've helped companies all around the world, and in this podcast, I connect with entrepreneurs and innovators who had the courage to test their ideas with real people in the market, with sometimes surprising results. Please join us as we explore the ups and downs of experimentation together. In this episode, I'm joined by Dr. Akvile Ignotaite, a data scientist and founder building AI-powered skin health technology used by more than 800,000 people around the world. We explore how her team combines data science, health tech, and creative marketing to rethink skincare for Gen Z and Gen Alpha. From building a vast skincare data set to launching a TikTok influencer, Pimple, called Pimsy, that has almost 40,000 followers, Akvile shares how cultural insights and small tests drive their product strategy. We also get into the challenges of building health technology for younger audiences, how to test ideas across different global markets, and why treating skin as a health problem changes how you design products and measure success. If you're interested in experimentation and AI in health, you'll enjoy my chat with Akvile. Welcome to the podcast, Akvile.
Hi, thank you for having me.
I'm so excited to have you on today because you sit at this interesting intersection between data and health. So I would love to better understand sort of a little bit of your history, and we'll go from there with regards to how you think about testing and data. I really want to get into some of your thought process behind this, but if you give us a little bit about yourself to our listeners.
So hi, I am Akvile. I am the founder and CEO of System Akvile with Akvile AI skin health app for Gen Z and Gen Alpha. I would say our app is one of the fastest growing now for the young generation on the market. We are quite popular in other part of the world, in Asia. And as well, we launched now a Pimsy. Pimsy is a character, a pimple. So I'm a founder of Pimsy as well. Pimsy is growing very well on social media. And my background is in data science. So I have a doctor title, so many people think when we talk about health that I am a medical doctor, because in Germany, in Europe, we have this doctor title. Like I think in the US, it's more like PhD or something. So all the time people come to me and like, oh, can you advise me on this problem? I was like, no, I'm not the doctor, you know, like I work with numbers, like with data, like I'm different kind of doctor, but like it really helps me in the business with very strong analytical thinking, especially when we do testing and AI and different things to really understand different models. Like I wouldn't say like I'm very good now in AI, because when I did my PhD, it was like, oh my God, 10 years ago. So it was like at the beginning of everything, and the times move so fast. Like I'm feeling already old in all these things. So yeah, so that's about me.
No, that's fascinating. I have to ask about the social influencer Pimple. So what's the thought process behind that? It sounds like it's growing. So if you explain a little bit about where that idea came about and what you're doing.
Actually, for some time, we already wanted to have some kind of character in the app or in general. Because like Duolingo has Duo, and it's so cool and it's so like different. And for us, like my team was pitching different characters. I was like, no, it doesn't feel good. And at some point I was like, what if we can make, something like Pimple to look really very cool? Because when you talk about pimples, acne, it's not, the thing what comes in your head. Oh, it's cute, it's cool, it's modern or something. So we started doing some ideas, and my designer, she was pitching different characters, and at some point it just clicked. It was in November. I was like, okay, I think it's cool. And it's how Pimsy basically became a live character. And then I started going around and pitching to different teams. I was like, look, I have this idea. I want to launch a pimple, but like not ugly pimple, not something you should be ashamed, because skin topics, when you literally talk about imperfections. So I started going around and pitching to different teams, to my developers who sit in India, and I was like, look, I have this idea. Tell me if I am crazy. Like, can we launch something like this, not just in the app, but as a separate figure, maybe even make Pimple the influencer, because why not? Maybe pimples can be influencers. So, and it's how it became live. We launched, I think, before Christmas on social media. And now on TikTok, we will be hitting 40,000 followers very soon. Testing a lot, because we will talk about testing a lot, learning what works, what doesn't work, what the audience wants to see, and how to make Pimple really cool.
That's amazing. 40,000 followers. It's always fascinating to me how things resonate with your segments, with customers, especially younger generation, of course. I think you can't get to them traditionally, through traditional means. So this idea, I think it's very creative. I love it. We'll get more into testing it in a bit. So let's back up a little bit. You have this really interesting intersection between skincare, health, and data and everything, and trying to really help people improve their lives. And I'm wondering what led to the creation of this, or what was the thought process that led you up to where you are today?
I think the creation process was quite primitive, because we track so many things in our lives. We track steps, we track menstruational cycle, we track calories, but it was nothing on the market for skin condition. And skin is the largest organ in our body, literally an organ, and not just a beauty issue. And there are so many factors that affect your skin health, from your nutrition, sleep, skincare, allergies, hormones, genetics, just name it. And it's really sometimes so difficult to understand why something is working for some influencer who is promoting products and telling, this is what helped my skin, and for you it just doesn't work. And so that's why for me it was quite clear that I want to go into this direction. The first idea was going more millennial, because I'm a millennial. So the first audience, we thought we will do an app, compliance app, adherence app for millennials, and named it literally compliance and adherence app. Very technical, data scientists, with all the scientists on board. Nobody wanted the app, because what is compliance? Are you doing legal stuff? Explain me. I was no, it's for your skin, to help you to stick to the routines and, just have a better skincare. Then I hired Gen Zs, and they told me what are you doing? Why are you doing this? Nobody will understand you. So we just flipped the script, added emojis and all the things, and it's how basically the app, what we have now, was born. So from the millennial app to completely Gen Z and Gen Alpha driven app.
Interesting. I have to say, personally, more being Gen X, there weren't a lot of solutions when I was growing up for acne. And I vividly remember I had this really weird burnt orange Clearasil. It was not a great color. It was supposed to be skin color. And I thought, I'm being so clever. I'm going to just smear this on my face and go to high school. And then I'd have my friends look at me and they said, there's something wrong with your face. And I was like, no, there's nothing wrong with my face. And they're like, no, you have orange all over your face. And here I thought I was being so clever. And I was obviously embarrassed because I had severe acne as a teenager. And I look at today, and the solutions have evolved so much. And now with the advent of social media and data and everything that we have now, I'm wondering, it's not just a switch from millennials to Gen Z and Gen Alpha. How did you think through, did you speak to them? Did you better understand their words and how they how they use technology? Like, tell me a little bit about that thought process or how you tested your way through that.
Like for me, it was literally flipping my mindset because I'm quite technical person and I see many things from very technical perspective, like very rational. And when you talk and work with younger generations, they are more, I would say, emotional driven, storytelling driven. So for us, many things, even changing UX UI in the app, that helped a lot. Just making the skin journey feel more natural for them. And of course, like being very open-minded and trusting the data and not saying, hey, I know better because I know better. We tried this compliance adherence thing. It didn't work. So it was really good lesson and really being very open-minded, more like, actually, I don't know what I don't know until I have the data to confirm my hypothesis, because I can make the hypothesis what I think could work because someone is doing something like this. It was tested, etc. Like we got a feedback, but at the end we don't know what we don't know. So always just making hypotheses, trying to move really very fast and asking for feedback. Like we are growing quite well in Asia, and I got some applications on LinkedIn, and a guy from India, he was like, "I want to work for you." I was like, "Yeah," like I get a lot like these things nowadays on LinkedIn. Like I don't know, like I don't want to talk to you. And he was like, "No, like I'm testing your app. I'm from Bangalore. I'm testing your app, and your app sucks on Android. Literally, like I'm finding so many bugs." And I was like, "Wow, yeah." Actually, it's true because like I'm using iPhone, like half of European team is on iPhone. So somehow it's like, if it looks good on iPhone, it will work on Android. But actually most of our audience is on Android and nobody is testing it properly. So, and he like literally sent his application with very long list what he doesn't like in the app. And I was like, wow, you're hired. Like, I love it. Come on board. And now he is completely on board and like doing things. I was like, okay, let's listen to you, help us to be better for the audience, what we have in Asia, and really start developing things, what next for them. We still believe one global community, but like listening to everyone. So that's like a short story. Somehow I lost the question, but like, anyway.
Oh, that's fine. I love it. So the idea of you're using an iPhone, but your majority of your customer segment's on Android. So obviously like trying to meet them where they are or deliver your value through what they are using. I like that. I want to come back to you saying you mentioned something about hypotheses, and it's obviously that's what I'm trying to do with my clients. I'm always trying to say, hey, let's apply this to business, not just the scientific method with regards to the feasibility of something and can it work in the data, but also let's look at the business side. How have you found that transition for you? Did it come naturally? Was it something you've struggled with? You seem very humble and very open-minded. And I think it's not trivial to make that switch from, I have a deep expertise, and you have literally a doctorate in data science, and you're trying to apply that to kind of squishy things like business and value propositions and pricing and a business, How does that transition work for you? Or what have you seen that could help that?
I think the biggest lesson I had was literally when we started growing in India. It was like end of 2023. And I started asking in Europe, like in Germany around, hey, what do you know about India? Who can help me explain the market? I don't understand. And I got into German Accelerator. It was the first cohort for the Indian market. And I went to India. It was just 2 German startups. Nobody wanted to go to check it. And I was like, and then I landed in Bangalore and I was like at the airport. I was like, wow, the airport is better than in Hamburg. Literally, like so good. And when I started meeting people, and the same it was with all these Ayurvedic topics, because Ayurveda is very big in India, and it's a huge part for skin health. And when I was in Delhi, my mentor, she was like, let's go to the Ayurvedic doctor. I was like, no, I'm a scientist, like Ayurveda, oh no, what's that? Like, I don't like. And she was like, no, be open-minded. And I went to the doctor, and I was like, literally sitting all the time, because I was like, oh my God, don't touch me. Like, no, I don't want this. And when we went out, she was like, wow, you behaved like really not good. And she was like, just as a reminder, we have Ayurveda for 2000 years already. How old is your Western medicine and everything? And you come to us and, try to judge. And for me, it was like literally like who I am, to have my thesis, to have my judgments, and that's it. And from 2023, like, no matter with whom I'm talking, like in which country we are, I'm always try to be extremely open-minded, because this lesson I will not forget. I was like literally embarrassed how I behaved, because I had this such a strong judgment. Like, I'm a scientist, we are not even taking blood tests. How we want to know with doshas? Like, what's that? What? Like, I will prescribe you some trinket and like treat you? Like, no. So that was really huge lesson for me, to be more open-minded and listen to different opinions, because sometimes like you literally don't know what you don't know.
Yeah, there's things that we know that we don't know, and then there are things we don't know that we don't know. And I know there's a little flow chart I've seen in the past where it's like, okay, there's known knowns and known unknowns, and then there's unknown knowns and unknown unknowns, and it can get very complicated. I think you're touching on something really important here, in the sense of going to a different region, a different culture. I find this also when I'm talking about failure. The way we talk about failure here in, let's say, Silicon Valley is very different when we talk about failure in other parts of the world. And the appetite for failure, and even using the word failure, is very different. It's received differently. And when you're going into a different region, I think it's easy to assume that, oh, this worked here, and therefore it's going to work in this different region. And I find a bunch of companies trying this and not succeeding because they don't have people locally, or maybe they haven't spent enough time in that region to really understand the cultural differences. And they scratch their head and wonder, well, why didn't that work? Because it should have worked. They're not that different. And, even here in the United States, even like going to Canada or to Mexico, is very different cultures. Even within the states themselves, going to different states are different cultures. So I think you're touching on a really interesting lesson of going to a different region and understanding the culture better, and understanding, oh, here's how I could provide value here, but I have to provide it in a different way. I have to be more open-minded about how I provide that value. And I'm wondering, when you talk about like your assumptions and your hypotheses and how you view things, like you almost said, like you had your thesis here, how do you apply that to your business? A regional, yes, I understand. But with your business, I feel like there's so many different things you could pay attention to. Are there some assumptions or hypotheses you have about your business, or you had in the past, that you felt like, oh, we should test this in a small way, or here's something we need to do to get more evidence before we spend a lot of money here?
I'm trying to apply this ICE method. It's like how important this is, how big the confidence is that it will work, and of course the effort. Like, if effort is very high and like you're not very confident, but it will work, and the impact for the business, you don't know. So we move, okay, maybe nice to have when we have more time and all these things. And we always try, like I always say, with low-hanging fruits to focus first on the low-hanging fruits. Okay, what we can do to really test the hypothesis, what would work, especially in tech, because it's so easy to start running around and really, fall in love with different models and and start burning investors' money on implementing things, and at the end you will see, it doesn't work. So that's why I always say, okay, let's start very small MVPs can be developed in 1 or 2 weeks, can be launched and see, does it have impact, yes or no. Better very imperfect things than very perfect things, because if you are not ashamed that you launched the product, I would say you launched already too late. And it's how I train my team as well, because everyone wants to do the best job they can do, and we sit and do the perfection and then pitch the ideas, and it's like, wow, it's like flipping the app 360. What is the minimum thing we need to release to check if it works? And it was the same with Pimsy. When I said, okay, I have this idea, we made the concept of the Pimsy, I pitched to a couple of people, to my lawyer. I was like, tell me if I'm crazy. I was like, no, I think you're on something. And we started doing AI videos of Pimsy, very quick, just to launch and see, okay, is it anyone liking it? Is it anyone watching what we're doing? Before spending real money into a brand concept, going to a lawyer, registering the name and all the things. And then when Pimsy started growing, when I went to the lawyer and said, okay, now we need to register the name, the design, I think it will work. And it's I think very important as well, because as a startup, you have investors and we say, oh, we want this, we want that. And they always say, no. People, let's try to test the hypothesis, go small, go fast, get the data insights, and then we will see if it works. And then we can start scaling.
I like that method. I mean, it's definitely how I try to approach things as well. I don't think if it's an experiment, it doesn't always work. And we know this as well. I'm wondering, is there anything in the past you've tried and you thought, oh, I think this will work, and then it just went sideways? Or, I mean, you still learned from it, of course, but what are some things you've tried in the past that you thought would work and just didn't?
Actually, many things. I would say it's better what we haven't tried. But some things, maybe some lessons where when we started doing, thinking, okay, what can come in the app, and we taught very strict programs 6-week program, 8-week program, and we started developing these journeys, and then we learned that actually people are very irrational, and making people follow very strict steps, especially young people, it's basically mission impossible. It's I don't know how do you want to incentivize them, when you really need very good incentives to make them follow 8 weeks each day. It's just crazy. And we spend so much time actually on these programs. We worked with dermatologists, scientists, nutrition experts. It was really huge project for us. And then we launched, and people started complaining, no, I don't want just 6 weeks. Why can't I read the content from week 6? I need to wait now 6 weeks. I don't want to be pressured to do this and that. And I was like, okay. So maybe the biggest lesson is literally that people are irrational. And the second lesson, I would say, I was so against TikTok for some very long. I think we went on TikTok quite late, because I was I don't understand this platform. No, it doesn't fit our brand philosophy. It's just entertainment. We are not for entertainment. We are actually serious skin company, and we want to help people to be better, improve their skin with real science, real data, and not TikTok dances. And then I remember I met Vlad. He left Belarus when he left Ukraine when the war started, and he was driving a taxi in Warsaw because nobody wanted to hire him, but he worked for TikTok houses, and he was like, Akvile, I want to start a TikTok for you. And I was like, oh man, I have budget, I will give you 500 euros, no more, prove me, but it's worth it because I know how Meta works. I know the CPAs on Google. Like, why should I tap into the platform I do not understand, I don't like, maybe? I don't even had a TikTok account myself. I was like, no, I will prove. And then Vlad proved in 2024, we even got nominated for Best TikTok Award in DACH region. So, and now I'm like full TikTok. I was like, when people say we don't use TikTok or something, I was like, oh my God, you're so old. So it took some time to get on TikTok, but now I'm fully committed. It changed completely my perspective, how to reach the younger audience, how the trends work, even, what is the psychology now, generational psychology. And, skin topics are so important. And for Pimple, it was really, really good to launch fast on TikTok, test things, because on Meta it's a little bit different. So that I would say 2 things I learned: to be more open.
It's testing your channels. You're trying to find your customer segment through the channels they use and reach them. And I can't say I'm big on TikTok either. And I remember last fall, I gave a keynote in New Zealand, and I had my Uber driver kind of driving me to the airport, and he was showing me his TikTok. While we were stopped, not while he was driving, but he was showing me his TikTok of how he sells business books online. And because we were talking about books, and I have a business book, and he said, you should really sell your business book through TikTok. And it's like, wow, people buy books through So there's so much that I don't understand about TikTok as well. But I think this idea of testing channels is very important. And I've seen this with some of the projects I've worked on in the past where we were so sure that this one channel would work. Like, oh, YouTube's going to work, or Instagram's going to work, or Google Ads is going to work. And it really is so dependent on your customer and what they're using. It almost doesn't matter what you think will work. You have to test different channels and see what is the best. And I vividly remember, some of these projects I've been on where, so in my book, I have a case study about farmers. Farmers don't hang out online all day. You have to go meet them at farming conventions or, at different places. You have to meet them in person. So I think it's very interesting meeting your customers sort of where they are. And even though if you're hesitant about it, being open to the fact that I could be wrong about this, and I'm looking at the data and it seems to be that this might be the approach. I like that framing. And it feels like, even with Pimple, it feels as if that might be a test that's working. At least you're growing your followers and growing your brand exposure and all that. What else is something, you mentioned a lot of things that didn't work. What else has worked for you in addition to Pimple? What is something with the app that seems to have resonated, or something you've maybe shifted away from programs? Is there something that you tested that actually worked better than you imagined?
We had last year this crazy idea. I was like, wow, it's June is Acne Awareness Month, and there are so many misinformation online and all these things. What if we launch a very quick feature in the app, daily facts and myths, what you can as a user check? And we just upload the list and, with short explanations, very gamified, a little bit Duolingo feeling feature. And I was like, okay, I don't want to spend a lot of money on coding this feature and distract team from the jobs. Let's do it quickly. I was like to my developer, you have 2 days. Do vibe coding, I don't care. Implement this quick and dirty, I don't care. Let's test if it will work. And it flew like crazy. We had people who answered in the row, I think 180 quiz questions. And I was like, wow. And the data we got from this, we even published a white paper on this because we had more than 20,000 users, who sign up and did and we improved our feature, all these use what we learned, but it was so unexpected with quick micro learning lessons and what kind of impact it can have and what kind of data you are getting from this, because it literally shows what people believe in. And it was like what we wrote now in the white paper, because we did the analysis and it showed that it's not your geography where you live, it's not your how old you are or like your gender that influence what you believe about skin health and acne. It's actually literally beliefs, what you learn on social media. And it's like what kind of impact, because we have a global community. And then when you think that someone living in India and maybe someone in Europe still believe that chocolate is causing pimples, or you're getting pimples because you're dirty and you're not hygienic. So it's really valuable information. What we learned from basically vibe-coded 2 days feature.
Yeah, it's amazing how those myths have stayed with us, even though we didn't have social media. It seems like they traveled anyway, and we still word of mouth spread all this misinformation as kids. I love that you time-boxed it. I love that you said, look, you have 2 days. I think that's what you said, like 2 days to do this. And I think that is important because with that constraint, you do get to be creative. Like what can I do in that time box to learn what I need to learn? And that's one of the constraints I like with learning. It's almost as if, I need to learn something within this time box or this, how do I learn from that? And I think that can be a really healthy constraint instead of not defining that. And then you maybe spend way too much time on it for what you're going to learn. So I like that you're setting those time boxes. What excites you going forward? Is there something specific that you are really excited about testing, or some part of healthcare and skincare that you're really excited about, like a big assumption you have that you want to see if it's true?
I think what's really very interesting in general to see, because our app is in English and like we never did localization in any country, nowhere on this planet. And I mean, I'm from Europe, and in Europe, like, I don't know how many languages we have, crazy. And we never did any localization for the language because of the assumption that Gen Z and Gen Alpha are becoming one global community. That was my biggest bet, what I did from like starting the company, and it's actually working. So I still hope like maybe at some point we will need to dive deeper into localization, but at the moment it's really what works. And now we started adding even more countries in the app. Like now we see growing in Kenya, and that excites me most, like really tapping into the markets, which will be probably very soon future, like in the next 10 years, Africa will become very, very important. And to be so early in these markets and really starting to understand the audiences and what drives them, that's so exciting, because I started seeing from a couple of days, because Pimple is growing so good on TikTok in Kenya as well. We're getting in the app users from this region as well. So that's very, very exciting. And of course, like in technology, AI, like now everything moves so fast. Like you can vibe code literally anything in a couple of days. We are planning to make from Pimple agentic AI, basically that you can do conversations with Pimple. So that we will see how it works. So that's in the pipeline as well, to bring him. I don't know, is Pimple he or she? Pimple whatsoever. Gender neutral Pimple.
Yeah, I love that. Well, there's different types of skin, and everyone has their own, issues they're dealing with, and being able to help them, I think is very powerful. I love that, we've covered everything from TikTok influencing Pimple to how you use data and how people almost reject the idea of very structured programs, and you trying to give them what they need and how to reach them and do it in the language in their region. I think it's all very insightful. I'm wondering if someone is listening to this and they want to reach out to you or they want to learn more, what's the best way for them to get in touch?
Best way to get in touch, of course, either on social media or LinkedIn. On LinkedIn, my name is Dr. Akvile Ignotaite. Oh my God, I cannot spell. So you will need to write it down. Akvile, something like this.
We will write it down. And then you mentioned the app.
The app is Akvile AI, akvle.ai. So it's free on App Stores, Google, and Play Store, or iOS Store. It's free. You can download and you will find our contact details as well, team@systemakvile.com. If you have any questions, feedback, any bugs to report, happy to talk.
Thank you. We will include all those links in the detail page and also in the description so people can find you. I want to thank you so much for hanging out with us. I learned a lot about skincare. I learned a lot about data and how you think about data. And I love how you test your way through things. And you have an open mind. So much of this is having an open mind, being open to the idea that you might be wrong. You can know all the different techniques, but if you explain away all the data, it's not going to be very impactful. So I really appreciate you having an open mind and sharing everything with us and being transparent
Thank
today.
you. It's exactly what my Indian team said to me today. Your Akvile is so open-minded. So it's literally what I'm trying to do, to be open-minded to many things and still say no, actually have no on my background. Do you see it?
I do. That's awesome.
I painted this. So yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for hanging out with us today. I'm sure our listeners learned a lot. Check out the app and we'll have the links in the description. Thank you so much for your conversation.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for listening to another episode of How I Tested That, where we share stories about experimentation, tips, and tricks. If you learned something new, please recommend us to a friend or colleague. And remember, keep testing your ideas.